Okay, well, thanks. I am so sorry I'm not there with you in person, but I do have an important transition slide. And yes, that is Alex and I in a bar, and yes, we have had far too much to drink. Alex and I look at the world, I think, very, very similarly. He is one of the rare people that is actually building something that is used out in the wild. And I am one of the rarest of all beings in a conference, and that's an actual customer. Um, I want to talk a little bit about Lawland. Welcome to Lawland. This is the map of Lawland. It is not drawn to scale. The question is, it's a parallel universe. Is it evil or is it perhaps benign? I'm not sure. But first and foremost, I'm not a lawyer. Yeah, I'm admitted to a few bars, and I've spent nearly 50 years wandering around literally every neighborhood of Lawland, from law school as both a student and as a teacher, to big law, to little law, to solo practice, to in-house practice, to government, to ALSP, and sort of everything in between. Most of my time, however, was spent in-house as a GC of two Fortune 500 companies. Over all of those years, my views have evolved, but not really have changed. My stories, well, they get more and more embellished as time goes on. So this is a tale of that journey. And as in the case of every drama, there must be three characters, a victim, a villain, and a hero. I'll leave it to you to figure out who plays what role as this tale unfolds. Today, Lawland is in crisis. But like the frog in the pot slowly starting to boil, most lawlanders either don't know or are in denial. Others, as customer or providers, are angry and lash out heavy-handedly. Most of my time in lawland has been spent as a janitor. As a GC, I was a very well-paid, well-dressed janitor, and following a very big elephant, cleaning up the messes made. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a janitor. There's nothing dishonorable about it. Heck, Jimmy Buffett wrote a song called It's My Job, extolling finding purpose and excellence in whatever you do. But in lawland, at least my journey was one of Sisyphus meeting Diogenes. And what do I mean by that? I mean, customers don't want disputes, they want to succeed. Customers don't want legal activity, they want results. Customers don't want interesting questions of law, they want actionable advice. But in lawland itself, that rock is not just big, it's huge. That hill is not just there, it's steep. The cave is not just long, it's dark. And so the pace is not just slow, it's glacial. So that takes us to what I call C3 of the crisis. The first stage of the crisis is conflict. In this conflict stage, the issue really is intermediaries. Lawland's continued guild defense of what has been done, how it's been done to defend its power and privilege, will come under increasing pressure and attack. My premise here is that traditional suppliers in all of Lawland's neighborhoods simply cannot change. Our customers are dissatisfied, and old and even new law traditional suppliers simply will not change to wholly new ways of legal service delivery. Their interests are too entrenched. Their egos and ids too tied to bespoke, customized professional service. Their business models are too dependent upon activity instead of results. And the cadre of associated intermediaries, and yes, I include the law schools in this, those that benefit from Lawland's existing ecosystem support the continuation and are too entrenched to pivot. The industry is under attack from customers, adjacent professions, and regulators. And our people are so tired now. Radical change is needed. We know that, but the forces against it are formidable. New providers attempt to rise, but the defenders of the status quo are both strong and legion. During this first period, this crisis period, tech change is at the periphery and making traditional suppliers more efficient, but failing to address the fundamental underlying problems. That lawyers need not do most of what's done today, yet the business models require them to do it. After the conflict stage, we enter into the contagion stage, stage 2. Lawland begins to focus on the customer as opposed to the provider. Tech becomes the conduit by which that happens. Tech permits processification, which is the fundamental building block of necessary change. But the initial focus of so-called legal tech is on the shiny new object syndrome, the silver bullet. It's on how to do the same things faster instead of asking why it needs to be done at all. In this phase, tech is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Eventually, the challengers will cease those frontal attacks and instead will surround and starve the citadel we call lawland and its defenders. Driven by true needs and focus, the customers themselves will increasingly avoid the traditional lawlanders and relegate them to increasing irrelevance. The rise of new providers will focus on customer needs and reducing the cost of legal services through P3, processification, platformization, productization. As some of these new providers arise and demonstrate proof of concept, buyers will start to move and other suppliers with other models will appear and grow. This will be a period of great experimentation, driven by customers fed up with traditional lawlander inefficiency, ineffectiveness, and egocentric service models. As the variants of a delivered value model appear, succeed, and demonstrate efficacy, buyers will move and suppliers will adapt and adopt these new models. This will be a period of simultaneous dislocation with far better customer services. Eventually, we'll get to stage 3, customerization. And this is where we have lawyer-led providers using activity-based models will fail and begin to disappear. Successful models will be service delivery enterprises with lawyers as process owners and designers, as opposed to process operators. Courts and traditional curriculum law schools will begin to wither unless they adapt to the new realities. They too will cease to exist. Here, the delivered value model will fully take hold with a focus on efficiency, effectiveness, and creating great customer experiences. Old style providers will remain in some niches and extremely high risk areas, but the mainstream lawlanders, including litigation and deal intermediaries, law schools and courts, will perish and disappear as they become less and less relevant. What I call engaged law and next law providers will arise and flourish with a new focus on profitability as opposed to top-line revenue growth. Customers will use more service at lower costs, gaining better results and adapting preventive law philosophies that will reduce disputes and litigation, as well as worthless IP and value negative deals. Operational excellence designed to prevent legal problems from arising will be the primary focus of legal service, with unrelenting efficiency and optimization applied to resolving those problems that nonetheless do arise, coupled with after actions designed to ensure they don't arise again. Behavioral continuous improvement will be the value add by legal teams to all enterprises. This manifests itself as what I call these 4 waves of change in law land. And you're no doubt asking yourself right now, this next law stuff is fine in theory, but it can't work in practice. I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. Teams I formed and ran did this twice, and here's how. First, I had to think different. Counselors, not lawyers. Outputs, not inputs. Results, not activity. Process owners, not operators. Legal delivery enterprises, not hotels for lawyers. Predictability, not random acts of brilliance. Processification, not individualistic my way. Decomplexification, not every contingency. Justice, delivered, not toll taxes by intermediaries, and paying for delivered value, not inputs and activity. And by the way, this is exactly what our ACES model did. Second, I had to act different. Act on what, when, and who. Does it need to be done? Does it need to be done now? Does it need to be done by me? If it's not legal, don't do it. If it can be done by others, use the most cost-effective and efficient resources possible. Define and own the processes as opposed to operating them. Acting on how, that's P3, plan, perform, and perfect. This is also called the perfect execution model. The first part of our vision as a legal team is legal optimized. To optimize, you must plan and leverage people, processes, and platforms for maximum efficiency and effectiveness. You must
Jeff, I'm giving you 30 more seconds. Jeff.
problem, no problem. And then finally, acting on why. The third is discipline management, focusing on principles, focusing on people, and focusing on platform. Now I ask you, what if we could do this? So perhaps this fourth wave is what if?
Hmm.
And that's it. The time is now, the choice is yours.
Well done, friend. Well done. All right, if you want to stop your screen share, and then you will be the floating head on our